I remember only briefly since I was a child. I just remember that he killed his wife because she cheated on him.
Yeah, I remember a little bit. I just remember that he was supposedly some guy that killed his wife and got away with it because the glove didn't fit or something like that. So that's about all I know.
African-American man who we felt perhaps was unjustly, charged and, socially castigated in a sense, who had fallen from grace, that justice was finally served for a black man.
On June 12, 1994, Nicole Simpson and Ronald Goldman were found in the courtyard of Nicole's condo, stabbed to death. The neighbor of Nicole's dog walker found the bodies. OJ Simpson was presented before Judge Kathleen Kennedy Powell on July 8, 1994, after fleeing to his house in Rockingham on June 17, 1994. Judge Powell ruled that there was enough evidence to trial OJ Simpson for 2 counts of first-degree murder. OJ pled absolutely 100% not guilty. On October 3, 1995, OJ Simpson was found not guilty for the crime of murder. This trial is still being debated today.
We believe that he should have gone to jail because of the irrefutable evidence, the biasness of the jury being that it was mostly black, and also the fact that there was evidence of previous spousal abuse.
We agree with the verdict because of the degree to which the evidence was obtained, the detective that testified committed perjury, and also race does not matter in the issue of right versus wrong.
There was plenty of evidence against him: hair, cotton fiber, shoe evidence, and there was also evidence when they called him and told him that Nicole was dead. He didn't have a reaction that someone would normally have to their wife being stabbed to death.
Some of this evidence, though, should have just been thrown away since it was not the main criminologist that handled it. It was the assistant to the criminologist. The person in charge should have been the one who handled all the blood work and all of the fibers and hairs that were found.
There was a lot of evidence at 2 very different locations, so he needed that assistant to help to work through the evidence.
But that doesn't make up for how poorly the evidence was obtained and taken care of. For example, the blood work that was obtained from OJ Simpson, it was left in the car for more than 1 hour, and then once it got to the lab, it wasn't enough blood in there. It was less blood than was originally obtained.
And physical abuse prior to the attack, and we know now that in 70 to 80% of partner homicides, the woman was physically abused by the man before the murder.
But the jury was, I believe, 10 women. If this was so, why didn't they have compassion on Nicole Brown? Why would they acquit Brown then, if it was such a huge deal?
Most of the jurors were African American. This was coming from a racially charged tension after the Rodney King trial. A lot of African Americans in the community felt as though that trial was mishandled and that his attackers were let off free. And so some African Americans saw this case as a way of retaliating.
The prosecution did not give them a reason to believe that he did not entirely kill them.
And the jury as a whole cast a unanimous vote, so all of them together agreed that he was not guilty, not just the 8 that were African American.
OJ Simpson trial is still important to today's society because it still causes controversy between whites and blacks. The minds of the people have not changed about the verdict even after a decade. Most whites still believe that OJ Simpson is guilty of the murders of Nicole Simpson and Ronald Goldman, but the prosecution did not prove the case. Most blacks are still convinced that he wasn't guilty and the verdict was correct. The verdict of not guilty seemed to be a representation of how white suspects were treated at this time, especially after the Rodney King case. They decided to go with their Negro consciousness instead of their American consciousness. After the case, OJ has come out with a book called If I Did It, which fully explains how he would have murdered them if he actually did it. This specific case was so important that even President Clinton was asked about it. Also, children of this generation weren't even born at this time, yet we still hear a lot about this case.